Square Enix is shutting down Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis before the remake trilogy concludes. Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, the mobile and PC RPG that expanded the wider Final Fantasy VII universe, will officially shut down later this year. According to a statement from producer Soichi Ichikawa on the game's official website, the decision came after the development team struggled to maintain a sustainable balance between production cost and player demand for new characters, weapons, and equipment. Players will still have several months to experience the game before the servers permanently close on October 6th. Released in 2023, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis was designed as more than a mobile remake of the original Final Fantasy VII. The game featured a streamlined version of the classic RPG's combat system, while bringing together storylines from across the franchise, including Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core, Before Crisis, and other entries in the expanded universe. The game also introduced new narrative content, expanded Sephiroth's history, and added original characters who eventually became connected to the broader Final Fantasy VII Remake storyline. Alongside its serious story moments, Ever Crisis also featured more unusual alternate scenarios, including lighter stories that reimagine the cast in completely different settings. This is not the first time Square Enix has attempted to expand the Final Fantasy VII brand through a mobile title, only to shut the project down. In 2023, the company ended service for Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, a battle royale spin-off that launched in 2021 during the height of the genre's popularity. Although the game's end is approaching, Square Enix says that Ever Crisis team still has plans for its remaining months. Developers will bring back previous events and release a final story update intended to provide a proper conclusion for players who have followed the game since launch. The shutdown has disappointed some fans, especially those who enjoyed the game's unique costumes, character designs, and additional lore. Some players have expressed hope that elements from Ever Crisis, including its outfits and story concepts, could eventually appear in future Final Fantasy VII projects. With the final installment of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy still in development, the closure of Ever Crisis marks the end of another attempt by Square Enix to expand one of its most popular franchises through a long-term mobile experience. It sounds like you're going after the wrong market for mobile. I don't know many mobile gamers that want something that's gonna uh, be be tied down to a Final Fantasy game if this game is as long as normal Final Fantasy games are or were. You know, if this game is as long as 15 20 hours, I don't see many people caring. And they said this isn't the first mobile game that they had to shut down with Final Fantasy. Why aren't they bringing this to console? I would think it would do better there. Um, and maybe make it free, and maybe not make it free to play, but make it where it like the other Final Fantasy games, like the Final Fantasy VII trilogy. It's make it where it's doesn't have to be online. Um, one price gets everything. I would just think it would do better on console. Um, Especially if it's the average length of a Final Fantasy game. I just don't know many mobile players that I would know. They'll play their game. They'll play it for like 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. But you know how many times you're going to have to play that game if this is a normal Final Fantasy in length? If you're playing it like in 10, 15, 20-minute bursts? So I'm just thinking, especially with this not being the first mobile project that shut down from Final Fantasy VII, I'm just wondering, why isn't this stuff being brought to console? I mean, you can't. Okay, we don't have the PSP, we don't have the PS Vita. I don't even think the 3DS is a thing anymore. I think that's done ever since the Switch came out. But bring it to consoles. Why are we putting Final Fantasy games on mobile? Um, but I've never gotten into mobile gaming, but the games that I have played and enjoyed, they were games that like you play for 5, 10 minutes. So it's kind of like I just don't see the appeal of Final Fantasy games appearing on mobile. And maybe with this being the second mobile project that shut down, maybe this is getting, maybe this is actually um, delivering the message. But at the same time, I can see the appeal. I can technically see I can see the appeal of you already have your phone, so you don't have to buy a Switch or a PlayStation. But wouldn't you already have that if you were a fan of Final Fantasy? Wouldn't you at least have a Switch or a PlayStation 5, or even if or even the PS4 at least? Although I don't think they make games for PS4 anymore. I think they finally finished that, bringing games to both systems. But I just don't understand. I just don't understand what what audiences were clamoring for a mobile Final Fantasy game. If you want it to play on the go, you can just get it on Switch now, or you should try to get it on Switch. And when I say you should try to get it on Switch, I mean the people who made it. Um, so yeah, it sucks that they're shutting this down, but they're not out yet. It's one. There's still some more content to come out for that game before it does shut down. Um, so, but unfortunately, yeah, this is going to be the second Final Fantasy game on mobile shut down. Next.